Love, loss, and new beginnings. Evelyn had always believed in fate. She wasn't one to chase love, nor did she expect it to arrive in the way it did. It was a crisp autumn morning in New York City when she first met Daniel. The golden leaves swirled around them as she walked hurriedly down Fifth Avenue, her scarf barely clinging to her shoulders. Daniel, tall and confident, had just stepped out of a cafe when their paths collided. Her coffee cup tumbled, spilling onto the pavement, and she gasped. "I am so sorry," she exclaimed, flustered. Daniel chuckled, bending down to pick up her empty cup. "No harm done, but let me make it up to you. How about another coffee? My treat?" His deep brown eyes twinkled with warmth. That spontaneous coffee turned into an hour-long conversation, then a lunch date, and soon, countless evenings spent together under the city lights. Their love grew naturally, effortlessly, like vines climbing a sunlit trellis. Evelyn was a writer, crafting narratives that made people feel, while Daniel was a software engineer, always logical and structured. Their differences complemented each other, creating a balance neither had known before. They found comfort in late-night talks, the way Daniel held her hand during thunderstorms, and the way Evelyn made him laugh when work got too stressful. One evening, on their third anniversary, Daniel took Evelyn to the same cafe where they had first met. The moment felt nostalgic, but there was something different about his demeanor. He fidgeted slightly, eyes glancing between her and the tiny velvet box in his palm. "Evelyn," he began, voice steady despite the excitement brimming in his chest. "These past 3 years have been the best of my life. You make me want to be a better man every single day. Will you marry me?" Tears welled up in her eyes. She didn't need to think, didn't need to hesitate. Yes. 1,000 times. Yes. Their wedding was an intimate affair, held in a charming vineyard upstate. Close friends and family gathered under twinkling fairy lights as they exchanged vows, promising to stand by each other through every storm life might bring. Evelyn looked radiant in her lace gown, and Daniel couldn't take his eyes off her. Married life was blissful. They traveled, built a home together, and dreamt of a future filled with love and laughter. But as the years passed, an unspoken sorrow settled between them. They had hoped for children, for the sound of tiny feet echoing through their home, but month after month, year after year, their hopes remained unfulfilled. Doctors' visits became frequent. Tests, treatments, and prayers filled their days. Evelyn reassured Daniel that love alone was enough, but she could see the longing in his eyes whenever he held a friend's baby. And then slowly, something changed. Daniel became distant. The warmth in his eyes cooled, and the laughter that once filled their home grew scarce. Work kept him out late. Conversations became brief, mechanical. One night, as Evelyn sat waiting for him at the dinner table, the candlelight flickering against her tear-streaked face, he finally spoke words she never imagined hearing. "Evelyn, I can't do this anymore. I need more. I need a family, children. I love you, but this isn't the life I imagined." Her breath caught in her throat. "Daniel, are you saying I'm leaving?" The words shattered her. She watched, numb, as he packed a bag and walked out the door. The man who had promised forever was gone, leaving behind a silence so deafening it swallowed her whole. Days turned into weeks. Evelyn struggled to find meaning in the emptiness. She threw herself into work, into writing, into anything that could distract her from the aching void in her heart. But nothing helped. Not until one fateful morning when she felt an unfamiliar sensation, a wave of nausea that sent her rushing to the bathroom. A doctor's visit confirmed what she never thought possible. She was pregnant. Her heart pounded in disbelief. The very thing Daniel had longed for, the thing that had driven him away, was now a reality. She wished she could tell him, wished she could see his face light up with joy. But she knew better. He had made his choice. And so she made hers. Evelyn decided she would raise this child alone, build a life filled with love and warmth. She would not beg Daniel to return, would not let his absence define her happiness. This baby would have everything: a mother's unconditional love and a future full of possibilities. As she rested her hand over her growing belly, she whispered, "We're going to be okay, little one. I promise." Months passed, and her pregnancy became the center of her world. She read every book she could find, decorated a nursery in soft pastel tones, and learned to cherish the life growing inside her. Friends offered support, but she found strength in solitude, in the quiet moments spent feeling tiny kicks against her ribs. One rainy evening, as she sat by the window with a cup of tea, a knock at the door startled her. Her heart pounded as she opened it. Daniel stood there, soaked from the rain, his eyes desperate and filled with regret. "Evelyn," he whispered, "I made a mistake. I know now that leaving you was the worst decision of my life. Please, can we talk?" Evelyn inhaled sharply, emotions swirling inside her. She had dreamt of this moment, of him returning. But now that he was here, she wasn't sure what to say. Evelyn stood at the doorway, her hands gripping the frame as she stared at the man who had once meant everything to her. The storm outside mirrored the chaos inside her heart. Daniel, soaked to the bone, was a ghost from the past, pleading for a second chance. She should have felt joy, relief, but all she felt was the weight of his absence, the months of loneliness that had forged her into someone new. She swallowed hard. "Daniel, why are you here?" He exhaled, his eyes darting to her stomach, now round with their unborn child. I didn't know. Evelyn, if I had known." "But you didn't, did you?" she interrupted, her voice sharper than she intended. "You left, Daniel. You made your choice." Silence stretched between them. She could see the torment in his eyes, but she wasn't ready to forgive, not yet. She had fought too hard to rebuild her life. But even as she stood her ground, memories flooded her mind, of their shared laughter, whispered dreams, and nights wrapped in each other's warmth. Finally, she stepped back. "Come inside. We need to talk." They sat across from each other in the dim glow of her living room. The old familiarity felt like a cruel trick. Daniel reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "Evelyn, I regret everything," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "I was a coward. I wanted a family so badly, and when it didn't happen, I blamed you instead of standing by you. I thought leaving would fix things, but all it did was break me." Evelyn let out a hollow laugh. "It broke me too, Daniel. And now? Now you expect me to just let you back in?" "No," he said softly. "I don't expect anything. I just need you to know that I love you, and I want to be here. For you. For our child." The words hung in the air. She had spent months imagining this moment, but reality was far messier than her fantasies. Could she trust him again? Could she risk letting him back into her heart only to be shattered once more? "I need time," she said finally. "I can't promise anything, but if you truly mean what you say, prove it. Be here, not just for today, but for every day that follows." Daniel nodded. I will, whatever it takes. And so, he stayed. Days turned into weeks, and Evelyn watched as he tried to mend the wounds he had inflicted. He accompanied her to doctor's appointments, decorated the nursery with gentle care, and read every book he could find on fatherhood. He was present in a way he had never been before. But trust was not so easily rebuilt. There were nights when Evelyn lay awake, questioning if his love was enough to erase the past. There were moments when his touch still felt foreign, when doubt gnawed at the edges of her heart. Then, the baby came. A daughter. Small, delicate, and perfect. The moment Evelyn held her, everything else faded. All that mattered was the tiny life in her arms. And when she looked up at Daniel, tears streaming down his face as he whispered their daughter's name, she saw something she hadn't seen before. Pure, unwavering devotion. Maybe, just maybe, they had a chance after all. The first few months of parenthood were a whirlwind of sleepless nights and quiet, tender moments. Evelyn found herself lost in the rhythm of caring for their newborn daughter, whom they had named Lily. Every tiny movement, every soft coo from the baby filled her heart in ways she had never imagined possible. The pain of the past was still there, but Lily had brought a kind of peace Evelyn had never known before. Daniel was present, doing everything in his power to prove that he was serious about staying. He changed diapers in the middle of the night, paced around the nursery for hours when Lily refused to sleep, and read bedtime stories in a hushed voice. He wasn't perfect, but he was trying, and Evelyn could see that. Yet, something still lingered between them, a shadow of the pain he had caused, a wall Evelyn wasn't sure she could ever fully break down. One evening, as she rocked Lily in her arms, Daniel sat beside her on the couch, watching them with an unreadable expression. "She looks just like you," he murmured, reaching out to trace a gentle finger over Lily's tiny hand. "I can't believe we made something so perfect." Evelyn swallowed. She wanted to believe in this moment, in him, but doubt still gnawed at her. "She needs stability, Daniel. She needs to know she'll always have both of us." His gaze met hers, filled with something raw and vulnerable. "And she will," he promised. "I won't walk away again." She nodded but didn't answer, focusing instead on the rhythmic rise and fall of Lily's breathing. She wanted to trust him. She wanted to believe that love could heal everything. But wounds that deep didn't simply disappear. As the months passed, Evelyn and Daniel found themselves falling into a rhythm. Their life revolved around Lily, her first smile, her first laugh, her first wobbly steps across the living room floor. Daniel was always there, cheering her on, capturing every milestone with a camera in hand. But outside the bubble of parenthood, their relationship was still fragile. Conversations often revolved around Lily, avoiding deeper, more painful discussions. The fear of confronting the past loomed over them both. Then came the night that changed everything. Evelyn had spent the evening working late while Daniel put Lily to bed. When she finally entered the nursery, she found him sitting in the rocking chair, their daughter fast asleep in his arms. He looked up at her with a look so full of love, so full of regret, that it made her breath catch in her throat. "I never stopped loving you," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Even when I left, even when I was too much of a coward to fight for us." Evelyn's chest tightened. "Daniel, I don't expect you to forgive me overnight," he continued, "but I need you to know that I'm all in. For Lily, for you, for us." Tears pricked at her eyes. "I'm scared, Daniel. I'm scared that one day you'll wake up and realize this isn't what you want anymore." He shook his head. "I've already lost you once. I won't make that mistake again." She wanted to believe him. And maybe, just maybe, she was finally ready to try. As the night stretched on, they sat together in silence. Lily's soft breaths the only sound between them. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But it was a beginning. And for the first time in a long time, Evelyn allowed herself to hope. Time moved forward, and life settled into a delicate balance. Daniel had proven his dedication in countless ways: small gestures of kindness, unwavering presence, and an undeniable love for their daughter. But Evelyn remained cautious. Love wasn't a switch that could be flipped back on. Trust wasn't a door that swung open so easily after it had been slammed shut. Lily grew into a lively toddler, filling their home with laughter and mischief. The walls that had once echoed with tension and uncertainty now vibrated with the joyous noise of childhood. Evelyn often caught herself watching Daniel with Lily. How he effortlessly carried her on his shoulders, how he made silly faces just to hear her giggle, how his love for their daughter radiated through every action. But their relationship was still a work in progress. One crisp autumn evening, the three of them took a trip to the park, where Lily played in the leaves, her tiny hands scooping up golden red piles and tossing them into the air. Evelyn watched, a bittersweet smile on her lips. Daniel reached for her hand, and for the first time in a long while, she let him take it. "I know I still have a long way to go," he admitted, his voice low and sincere. "But I'm not giving up, Evelyn." She met his gaze. "I don't want you to." It was the closest she had come to saying what was truly in her heart. That night, as they put Lily to bed, Daniel lingered in the doorway of their bedroom. Evelyn hesitated, then nodded toward his side of the bed. "Stay." He did. And for the first time in years, they lay side by side, the warmth of his presence no longer feeling foreign. Months passed, and with them came deeper conversations. The past could no longer be ignored. One night, after Lily had fallen asleep, Evelyn sat across from Daniel in their dimly lit living room. "I need to understand," she said softly. "Why did you leave?" Daniel exhaled heavily. "I was terrified. I had this picture in my mind of what our life should have been. When it didn't happen the way I expected, I ran. I told myself I needed something more, but the truth is I was just scared of failing you, of failing myself." Evelyn studied him. "And now? Now I know that walking away was the biggest mistake of my life. I hurt you, and I hate myself for that. But I also know that I want to spend every day making it up to you." Tears welled in her eyes, but this time, they weren't just tears of pain. They were tears of healing. "I don't know if I'll ever forget what happened, Daniel, but I want to move forward. I want to try." A slow, hopeful smile spread across his face. "That's all I could ever ask for." Years passed. Their love, once fractured, had slowly mended into something even stronger than before. Their life together wasn't perfect, but it was real. They faced challenges, they argued, they stumbled, but they always found their way back to each other. On a warm summer evening, as they sat outside watching Lily chase fireflies, Daniel turned to Evelyn. "Marry me again." Evelyn laughed, shaking her head. "We're already married, Daniel." "I know," he said, grinning. "But I want to do it again. A fresh start, a new chapter. What do you say?" She pretended to think for a moment before smiling. Yes. 1,000 times, yes. And just like that, their love story began again.